first week we filled out, we gave you guys a booklet with testimonies. And as I was thinking about this and thinking about making my story God's story, I thought of Stephanie Martinez. And if you have not had a chance to hear Stephanie's testimony, I have invited her today. And I'm going to ask her to come up here. And she's going to share with us a little bit about her story and how it became God's story. So would you welcome Stephanie? For those who don't know Stephanie, Stephanie has been working with ConneXion for close to a year, right? Close to a year, and she is the one responsible for the bulletins that you have. Night of Glory flyers, she does that amongst many other things that she does. She has been a blessing. She's here every Sunday. She's the mother of David, if you know David, little Spider-Man. That's her little boy, and well, take it away, Steph.
Hello, everyone. I'm really nervous. I'm scared. But Nestor asked me if I would come up here and share my testimony. And of course, like everyone else, I didn't want to. Well, my mind was telling me that I shouldn't because, it's scary. But I knew that I had to because I know that it's going to impact you, some of you guys. So I don't know who has read my testimony or who hasn't. And I know that for those who have testimony, it's more towards, girls. But I know that also guys can, learn something from the wounds and the scars that I have been through. I'm going to talk about my testimony. I'm just going to, break it down short. I'm going to talk about the effects of my, physical, emotional damage, and then how God came into my life, how He played a part, and then just some of the stuff that I used and I did to, help me heal as well. When I was little, I grew up Catholic. I never knew God. I never knew there was such thing as creating a relationship with God. I didn't know about Christianity, or I didn't think there was such thing. I grew up Catholic, not knowing, just knowing service as it was. In elementary, I started getting bullied around 3rd grade by the popular pretty girls. I don't know why they picked on me, but they did. There was 2 of them that I still remember, of course, in particular. I got bullied really bad. Well, I consider it really bad. The 2 girls would tease me around school. They would call me names, gossip. They would try to beat me up or threaten me like, oh, you better watch your back. After school, I'm going to get you. One time I did get down. One of the girls, we did fight. But, nothing happened. Another time, one of the girls did actually come up to me, and she slapped me so hard that I started bleeding from my nose and my mouth. And no one saw it, so she basically got away with it. And during the whole time that I was being bullied, I never told anyone, and I didn't stand up for myself because I didn't think I could. They were bigger than me, and not only that, but they also they got 2 guys to join them. So now I was being bullied by girls and guys. So I was powerless, and I felt like a loser. Another thing is that my self-esteem started going down because I didn't believe in myself. And this bullying, it lasted from 3rd grade to 9th grade. They went to elementary, middle school, and high school with me. So with that also led me to change my identity. I started turning into a tomboy, dressing like a boy, skating. I started skating with the boys, wrestling, playing video games, all that stuff. And subconsciously, I did it because I wanted to be tough. I wanted to, think that I was tough, hanging around with the boys, and I wanted people to see that I was tough. So that's one of the reasons why I changed my identity. Another thing that I struggled with was that at the same time, while I was growing up, my home life, it wasn't any better. My family life, at home, well, when I was at home, me and my brother, we fought a lot. You know, he would also punk me around. He's only a year younger than me, but he would punk me around. And I was also getting sexually abused by family members. And I was small, so I didn't think nothing of it. I didn't like, I kind of just went along with it because I was so innocent and so small. And I never told anyone either, so I just kind of kept it inside of me. This wound, it left me with another type of low self-esteem. And, sorry. My emotions towards men, it changed a lot. Also, I felt shame and disgusted. Entering into high school, it actually didn't get any better. I went from a tomboy to being one of the punk rockers, and that crowd is really bad. It's rebellious. I don't know if you guys seen the punk scene or you guys know what I'm talking about, but it's really bad. And I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I was just lost, and I was looking for a way to fit in. So as I started, hanging out with the rebellious people, I at the same time started requesting more freedom from my parents, and I had strict parents. My dad didn't like me hanging around with boys or being out too late. So they obviously said no. While all my friends, my punk friends, were having parties during school nights and sleeping over each other's house, going to shows, I was stuck at home, and that made me burst out with a rebellion. They said no, so I started sneaking my freedom. I didn't care. I started sneaking out of my bedroom when they went to sleep through my front house. I would return right when school started at 7 in the morning. When they left to family gatherings, I wouldn't go with them so that I can go out with my friends. I started ditching school. Since I always took the school bus, I would just walk to the school bus and then leave when my mom left. One day, they actually caught me sneaking out. Well, they were in my bedroom waiting for me because my sister saw that I wasn't there, so my sister went to tell them. And then when I snuck back into my house, they were in there waiting for me, and they were really mad. And some people would have been like, okay, I'm not going to do it again. And I told them I'm not going to do it again. But at the same time, I didn't care anymore. And I started doing it knowing that they were going to find out. I just kept doing what I wanted to do. At the same time, the punk scene that I had, the people were older, so I started drinking alcohol. My friends were 21, so I was able to get alcohol all the time. I also found a liquor store that would sell me alcohol underage. And my parents, they drink, so I would always take their alcohol as well. I started smoking weed in school. At the same time, I got a job, so I had money, so I would always, buy whatever I needed. Since my parents knew what I was kind of going through, battling with myself, the times that I did get in trouble, they would ground me. And my dad would yell at me really bad, call me bad names, dirty names, and the times that I did get grounded, one of the times I couldn't take it anymore, I was just so overwhelmed with emotions, and I was so hurt that I went into my room, I was grounded, and as a way to release all the emotions that I had in me, I was sitting in my bed and I started cutting myself. I was cussing at myself, I was cussing at my parents, And at the same time, I was slashing on my arms. I didn't have a razor. Most people that cut use razors or scissors or whatever. But I started out with a screwdriver. That was the only thing in my room. Basically, what I did, I would just rub it on my skin until my skin dissolved away. And then I just taped my arms with bandages. I hid myself, my arms, wore long sleeve sweaters, and every time that happened, it became a routine. I would get grounded, go to my room, I would feel the same way, and I'd just go back into doing the same thing. It was really tempting to just cut my wrist and just go to the hospital, and hopefully I didn't make it. That's the way I thought, like, do I really want to live or do I not? Like, I was battling with myself, like, if it was worth it to keep going. And I noticed that every time after I did it, I didn't even feel any better. Like, I did release my emotion, but I felt even more bad, and more sad, more alone, more crazier. And it didn't really solve my problems. Also, another thing that I learned, I was healing, is that unsubconsciously, I did it for attention. I wanted people to notice that I need help. And I wasn't the type of person that would tell my parents or anyone that I was hurting and I needed help. So I did it also for attention, so that someone can notice me and get me help. Eventually, my parents did find out. They took me to see a psychiatrist, but since I was so closed, I never talked to the doctor. They diagnosed me with depression. And then I told my parents, okay, you're right, I need help, but I don't feel like opening up to someone I don't know, so I'm just going to stop doing it. And so I stopped going to a psychiatrist the day after. I never really talked to a psychiatrist. The depression that I was suffering, the thing is that I never took the antidepressants because I was in denial that I was hurting. So from the depression, it gave me even a lower self-esteem. I also started developing anxiety and like a social phobia. Like, I couldn't be around too many people or big, large crowd of people. My cutting problem lasted about 5 months, and that's when I moved into deeper things that I found another escape, so I left the cutting behind. I started at the age of 15. Well, I was cutting myself at the age of 14. At the age of 15, I started dating. I was still drinking, smoking. One day, I had a traumatic experience. I used to sneak out a lot, like I just said, and I would always go to Santa Monica Beach. That was like the kick it place, like when you sneak out. This time, it didn't turn out the way I thought it was going to turn out. I went with one of my guy friends, and that night, actually, we didn't make it back home safe and sound. I was sexually assaulted by 3 men that night, and my friend was beat up, and he had blacked out. That night, I didn't think I was going to live, and I told myself, like, if I live, I'll stop everything, like, God, like, I didn't believe in God, but I was just, like, praying because I knew there was a God, but I was like, God, like, save me. 30 minutes later, the cops came. We were rushed to the hospital. We were okay. Of course, physically I was okay, but not emotionally. It turns out that a bum that night had been walking at the beach, and he heard me yell for help, so he called the cops. After that night, the cops told me that I needed to go to a therapy, to seek therapy and counseling. I had to go to court like every week to fight the guys, so I could send them to jail. Investigators and cops, they would always come to my house because they wanted like the details. That lasted about 5 months. And I actually didn't go to seek counseling or therapy. I was, again, in denial. I thought that I could just pretend it never happened. And I told myself that I would just forget about it. And I didn't think that it was going to, emotionally do anything to me.